have a lot of people on Zoom, and as I can see also on my phone, we have a lot more on Workplace as well. And it's super exciting to have all of you here today. And we are live now on Workplace. For those of you who are on Workplace who would like to join us here on Zoom to have a more interactive session, please feel free to join us here. On the comment section below, there's the Zoom ID as well as the password. Very easy, 123 is the password. Our Zoom ID is 206-597-3551. So feel free to join in. And if you are on the Zoom call, I appreciate that everyone can put yourself on mute as to not interfere with our session today. So today it's a very exciting webinar we're going to have. It's a manager series again. Once again, manager series is not only for managers, but it really can help all of you managers who manage people or work with people. And today we are talking about something very interesting. Again, with she's coming for the second time with Marissa, and it's empower your behavioral intelligence. So we normally know what's IQ, and and now this is behavioral intelligence. I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Or emotional intelligence is the other one, but today we're talking about what is behavioral intelligence. So going beyond IQ and EQ, basically, right? To understand yourself inside out with an identity iceberg. So what is that? How to work effectively using behavioral intelligence, being empathetic and compassionate while getting results, and finally managing your inner voice. All of us have that inner voice, right? So for those of you who don't know Marissa is actually a Naluri executive coach, as well as founder and CEO of the Spark Group Asia. And she's an associate certified meta coach, leadership intelligence coach, ex-corporate investment banker turned leading business growth specialist, master coach, professional speaker, more than 10 years of business coaching experience in helping SMEs, business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders in turning around their business and leadership roles. She has so many accolades, and she second time, I know she was so popular the previous time, and then we have her back again now. Marissa, are you there? Welcome once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Achilles and the All-Star Air Asia team. I'm so excited to be here a second time. I think we had a blast, didn't we, for rocking the virtual culture. I think that was a really good topic, and today is just going to be a follow through. So I'm really excited to be here. Achilles, thank you.
We are excited to have you again, and look at this. We have so many participants in our call right now and also tuning in. So for all those tuning in over the other side, please do come here so we can have live questions as well. But if you are on the other side on Workplace Live, just put down your comments. If you're tuning in, just put down your comments if you can't join us on Zoom. Once again, this is fully recorded, so you can go back on Workplace to tune in, right? And thank you, Adela, for doing the commentary on Workplace. So Marissa, are we ready?
Yeah, we are. When you guys are ready, I'm ready.
And I just wanted to highlight one thing before we begin, right? From our sponsors, we have to do some advertising here. So for those of you who have not downloaded the Naluri app, okay, and you have no idea what is the All-Star Health Coach Naluri app, it is time for you to download, because Marissa is not only here at this time to help you, but she's on the app as well. She'll talk a little bit about it at the end of the session, how you want to go through it. And it's very easy, just download the app. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, okay, I am going to share with you on your screen right now. You will see, there you go, the QR code, which is on your screen right now. It's Get Back on Track. You can scan that QR code, or hopefully I can put that on the comment section. And you can download the Naluri app, and this will really help you It's not only getting fit, but also emotionally, mentally. There's a lot of modules there to go through. And Marissa is on the module. And it's not a bot that's speaking to you. It's Marissa and her amazing team that is going to speak to you, the team at Naluri as well. So please, please, if you have not downloaded the app, then go ahead and download the app because it is for you. It is 100% free for you. It's paid for by AirAsia for you guys, all stars. So please do download the app. It's an amazing app to use. Okay, so that's so if you're not done that, just go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over the session to Marissa. Marissa, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Achilles. And yes, all of you, if you want to continue having conversations with us coaches, this is the place to do it. So please make sure you create your account. But can I just get a show of hellos? Can you guys all hear me loud and clear? If you can hear me loud and clear, say hello, thumbs up, give me a wave. I can see you. Oh, yeah, yeah. All right. Okay, gang, let's rock and roll. All right. So today's session is a really interesting one because after I completed the session, I think was it about 3 weeks ago? I think a follow through was how to understand people. And behavior intelligence is a mouthful. Yeah, thank you. It's a mouthful, but it is truly a skill, and I'm going to teach it to you in the next hour. All right. So before I go into this, guys, I just want you to appeal into my screen for a bit. This is who we are, the Spark Group Asia, as Achilles has introduced. But a lot of people ask, how do we do what we do? So if you take a look at 4 of the companies that and logos that you see there, you will see 2 of these logos here. Now, a lot of what I'm going to be sharing today has a lot to do with the School of Neurosemantics. How many of you have heard of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming? If you have, okay, type yes. Now, if you have, this is going deeper. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I see some chats coming up and some hands raised. Fantastic. Love it, guys. I'm reading all your chat, yeah, so chat me up. That's awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Yvonne. Nice, nice. Okay, now, if I may, a lot of what I'm going to share is from the School of Neurosemantics, which is a research institute on increasing human potential. Okay, so this gentleman, Dr. Michael Hall, started this company and started a foundation called Meta Coach, where a lot of us are coaches all over the world, making a difference to people's beliefs. And I'm going to talk a lot about that today because it has a lot to do with behavior intelligence. You'll also see AccuMatch. AccuMatch is a Canadian technology. Very, very powerful because it will help you to see. Now, in the world, there's no one chart that is the same. Okay, so that's how powerful it is, but you'll be able to see how your mental maps are designed. Okay, now, I won't talk too much about myself because I think Achilles has shared a lot of my profile, my past life as a banker, numbers, corporate finance, into leadership, business, and executive coaching. So it was a very huge change for me as well. Now, how did I make those changes? A lot of what I'm going to share, and by end of today, you will see some of the abilities that we have. For us as coaches, we are always empowering people. We can't do the work for you. We can't do the work. But as we coach, we are enabling you to realize your strengths. We're enabling you to take your steps forward. But that means that we have to understand people. So I did come through a journey of numbers and formulas into a world of people. And how many of you feel, wow, understanding people, is it easy or hard? Easy or hard? That's okay. No right and wrong. Hard, Michelle. No, Amira, hard. Damn hard. Oh my God, Michelle. Thank you,
I like
Yvonne.
hard AF.
Okay, hard AF. All right, that's hard. Astri says very hard. No, Diana, Shahida. Hard lah. Ayo, okay. So this is where I'm going to simplify it for you. How many of you want me to simplify it for you? Okay, depends, law. Okay. Now, yes, please. Thank you, Charles. Bring it on. Okay. So I'm going to share a lot of all these things that have made a very big difference. For those of you who want to continue learning from me, these are two of my books. I think I shared it in the last session. So take a screenshot and just go and Google it. You can talk to my office. We'll send you a signed copy if you want. Yeah. And last but not least, if you want to get more videos, like all this stuff, oh my gosh, I want to get more, please go to YouTube. Again, a free resource just for you. All right. So just go right in there and enjoy. So let's get into it, right? Now, empowering your behavior intelligence is a very powerful topic because many of us, some we sometimes feel a lack of peace, a lack of harmony when it comes to working with people, right? And we question others, and then we question ourselves. So there are almost so many variables. Okay, so which is why many of you say hard, 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 hard. But by the end of this session, I'm going to show you actually how simple it is. And this is one of the topics that is very difficult to teach. If I can, it's not easy to teach, but I'm going to simplify it for you. And many of you are going to see how to do it for yourself. Okay, now, so empowering business intelligence, your behavior intelligence has to begin with what you see on the screen here. Okay, so on the left you see, so you look at the x-axis, you will see self. All right, myself is definitely part of the equation, and on one side of self, all right, on the far left, how many of you see on the right? I see others. So there's the tug and pull, right? So there are some people that are too focused on self, okay, and then there are some people that are too focused on other. How many of you can kind of see yourself on that spectrum already? Can you see that? Okay, this is questions you ask yourself. Now, on the Y spectrum, you can see the Y-axis, you have people that are aware and you have people that can exercise control. Control, another word is not control freak. I want to control whatever people do, manipulation, no. Control meaning mastery, discipline, all right? Holding yourself back. Now, if I can just go into this, very, very powerful. If I am on the awareness and self, I am self-aware. Being self-aware means that I am conscious. I'm conscious of how I think and how I feel, which means when people are talking, you can get a sense of what you're feeling, what you're thinking. You can get a sense of your own inner voice, okay? Now, this is very, very crucial because now I make it sound simple, but some people don't even do that. They just react straight away. So it's very important that find that split second, oh, what am I feeling? Okay, now from self-awareness, then I can practice self-mastery. Self-mastery is about monitoring, it's about discipline. Self-mastery is about holding myself back. That pause, that pause, the pause before I react. And if I react without processing, and I'll teach you some ways to process at the end. If I react without processing, it almost becomes very, the people that are very emotional, people that are very reactive, people that are very temperamental, all right? These are your self-mastery parts, all right? So now this is the self, can see here, and now we go over to the other, we go over to the right side, all right? Now we go to the right-hand side, you have other, but aware. So when you go to the other side and awareness, some people are not so aware of what people are doing, what people are saying, because inside other awareness requires us to be, and I want you to write this down, to be observant. You got to be able to look at patterns. Now, why is he doing it this way this time, but earlier he did it this way? You're being observant. You're not judging, no judgy, we're not judging. We're asking the questions. Now, this awareness will then, that's relatability. A lot of empathy starts here. And the last part is when we go to others and control. Doesn't mean you go and control other people. We call that relationship management. And that's the act of collaboration. the act of a win-win situation, the act of resolution, coming together, working together. Now, the reason why I started with this slide is this is EQ awareness. Okay, EQ doesn't mean and this is a very, very big topic because a lot of people come to me and say, when I talk about EQ especially, people will say to me, Coach Marissa, I don't have a problem with my EQ. Oh, I go, oh, really? Why? Oh, I don't show any emotion. Hang on. People that don't show emotion doesn't mean you don't have EQ problems. So this is very important. On a spectrum, EQ awareness, EQ intelligence is your ability to show the appropriate emotion, not zero emotion and not a lot of emotion. Does that make sense? EQ is about showing the appropriate. Now, this is truly important because behavior intelligence must first begin with self. When we understand ourselves, we understand how we react to people, we understand our abilities, we understand our inabilities, we understand our flexibilities, we understand our inflexibilities. Then we can go to being aware of others, that we swing over, and then this. So what I find with a lot of leaders, a lot of people, without being aware, they pergi straight to trying to manage the relationships. They go straight. So without being aware of myself, I go straight into managing the relationship. What does it become? It becomes a sense of manipulation. Does that make sense? So this is very, very crucial because only when I'm aware of myself and how I'm showing up in the whole formula, then can I try and support the relationship. Does that make sense? So in understanding this, we start with ourselves. Now we can go to voila, the identity iceberg. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a 3-day program. This program I can teach for 3 days, but I'm going to share it with my all-stars here today because I want you to understand a very pertinent key to how you react to yourself and process your own thoughts. Now, understanding yourself inside out is truly crucial because if you look at the iceberg, let me just guys, you can see my iceberg all nice and clear. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Now, if you can see my identity iceberg, thank you, Riza, very good, thank you. The iceberg, what the ship can see, thank you, Charles, cabin crew initial training, beautiful. All right, Charles is awesome. All right, I can ask you a question now, Charles. Now, if you look at what a boat, a ship can see, the top part of the iceberg is really not the whole thing. What you see is the whole part. So if I can, what we can see of a human being are just their actions and decisions. I can see the actions they chose to take. I can see their behavior, whether they do things fast or they do things slow, whether they wake up early in the morning or whether they sleep late. Now, all these are actions and their behaviors. Is there a right and wrong? Is there a right and wrong to these things? Probably not. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. Thank you, Vimala. Now, this is crucial because whatever actions we choose to take is driven by what is below the waterline. Now, what is below the waterline are my skills. I choose to do more and more of what I'm good at. Does that make sense? So when it's a strength, I'm good at doing it. I get praised for doing it. So therefore, I do more because it's a skill. My skills also come from my beliefs. What I believe is what I hold to be true. So I'll give you an example. People who cook, especially now, we're in a virtual world and we all work from home, right? So some people order makan and some people will cook and it takes like an hour. Now, if you cook your own food, what do you hold to be true? What is your belief system? When you cook, the belief system could be, yeah, guys, type it in if you can. Your belief system could be, I believe home cooked food is healthier. And if that's what I hold to be true, my values are what I hold to be important. If I think that cooking at home, thank you, if I'm cooking at home, the only way to cook, yeah, fantastic. That's how people show love. This is important. If I cook at home, my beliefs is that home cooked food is healthier. My values are health first. Can you see the sequence? And then my identity of being someone that is holistic. So if I can, I've just given you an example of how our behaviors are driven by what is below the waterline. Now, this is crucial because we behave our belief systems. So can I ask you this? If I want to be a vegetarian, if I want to be, and I like eating all my steaks and stuff, all right? If I want to be a vegetarian, I can be a vegetarian for a day, for 7 days. But how many of you know what it takes to be a vegetarian for 365 days? Can I just do up here? Can I just do things up here? Willpower will only get you so far because that's willpower. I'm just gonna go another day. Another day. When is this gonna end? And then you eat your steak. Does that make sense? So to have long-term change requires this. So we behave our meanings. Why do people get up and exercise early in the morning at 5:30 every day? Is it just willpower or is there something else down here? Does that make sense? So if I can, this is truly important because this is your mastery, And I am going to now get into the top part of the mastery. Okay, are you guys ready? You want to get into the top part? Okay, because I'm going to dissect it from upstairs and downstairs. So I'm going to start with the easier part, the upstairs. Okay, so if you take a look at the upstairs part, all right, I'm going to look at behaviors. Now, this is where behavior intelligence come in. Now, before I go into that, I'm going to pull up a poll, all right? How many of you participated in this poll? Okay, I'm going to pull out the poll. Okay, and then let's have a look. So inside this poll, we asked, what happens when your colleague does not understand your message or your instruction? Guys, can I ask you, does it happen often that sometimes you delegate something and you communicated something and you thought you were being very clear, and then she doesn't understand or he doesn't understand? Has it ever happened to you before? If that's happened to you before, yes, thank you. Putu, Vimala, yes, Kanchana, Achilles, Anita, good. Yes, okay. If I can, do you know what everybody's response is? There was so many responses. When a colleague does not understand the instruction, there must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with him or her. There must be a better way to communicate. I should not assume. Now, if I can, 83% of you, 84%, all right? Okay, very good, Charles. Maybe it was my communication. So 84% of you said there must be a better way to communicate, okay? Another 15% of you said, I should not assume, I should confront. Okay, very good. Another 5% said nothing happened. Oh, sorry, pink color. Oh, that's no or nil. All right. So that 15%, I should not assume, I should confront. Now, if I can, this is a true example of behavior intelligence. Now, let me get to this. How many of you have heard of the hammer in hand analogy? Okay. Have you heard of it before, the analogy, having a hammer in your hand? When you have a hammer in your hand, what do you see around you a lot? What do you see? You got a tukul in your hand. What do you see? What do you see? Chime a guess, gang. You, Jimmy, that's right. Nails. Hear me. Nails. Yeah, you see nails, right? That's right. Thank you. This is called the hammer in hand analogy. Thank you. Because when you have a hammer, you see nails. And this is very, very interesting because I bring it back to behavior. How many of us have strengths in how we communicate? Do we have strengths? Yeah. Yes, we have advantages, right? Yes, absolutely. Now, I'll bring you to an example of a leader. Okay, so this person sits here and has a really powerful conversation. He calls Bob into his meeting and he has a powerful conversation with Bob. And he says, "Oh my gosh, Bob, you totally get me. I love you very much. Wow, I'm inspired. Let's do this." And he calls his next colleague in, Gary. And he uses the same conversation the same style with Bob, and this time round, he had a lukewarm response with Gary, and Gary just, mm, okay, yeah, sure. Now, the boss, the person, is wondering, oh my gosh, what's going on with Gary? And if I may, this is a very powerful example of having the hammer in your hand where everything looks like a nail. So this is very, very true, because if you are looking at managing people, you're looking at leaders, you're looking at people around you. How many types of people are there? How many types of people do you manage at any given time? Whether it is your employees, your subordinates, your peers, your colleagues, your customers, your suppliers, your partners, your bosses. How many types of people are there, guys? Can you tell me? So many. And that's the challenge for a lot of leaders, is that when they go around, thank you, Achilles, too many, when they go infinite, okay? But the challenge here is, are we going around with a hammer? Or are we going around with more tools in our tool belt? Which means to say, certain people, I need to have conversations that will use a drill. I would need to use a plier. I would need to use a measuring tape. So specific people, I would use different approach. I'll give you another scenario. Let's bring it closer to home, shall we? Let's bring it closer to home. If you are in a business, all right, and you are in any department, okay, all stars, you could be in marketing, you could be in operations, you could be in HR, anywhere. So we have projects, right? We start and we finish things, correct? Now, if I can, let's just look at the starting and the finish of anything. So when you start something, you're planning. There's a blank sheet of paper. You plan, you ideate, you create, okay? And then you go into, of course, you start something, you got to get into executing. And executing is following through, is monitoring, is compliance, is implementation. And then I go into a review. I implement for, let's say, a 3-month project, and I go into a review. What worked, what didn't work, investigate, I compare. And then I get into the end, I conclude. I conclude meaning, okay, guys, wow, well done, good job, all right, motivate, inspire, right, yes. Now, let me ask you this question. How many of you think that I can be the same person throughout all these phases? How many of you think I can be the same person? Can I? What do you think? No right and wrong, all stars. Can I be the same person? Cannot, Vimala. Atika also say cannot. Honey also said, no, I don't think I can. Colin sometimes. Yvonne, no. Kanchana sometimes. Excellent. Now, this is beautiful because how many of you have experienced people being the same person throughout the phase of the project? Have you experienced people who are very good at ideating, very good at starting? Now you get somewhere into execution or review, the same fella is still giving ideas. How many of you have experienced that before? Now if I can, you cannot, thank you Achilles, Barbara, thank you. You cannot be the same person throughout all the phases. Now, why? And this is a very powerful conversation on behavior. So what I want to share with you is this. There's no such thing as bad behavior. Okay, there's no such thing as bad behavior. That means I want to say something. There's no such thing as wrong behavior. That means if you ideate, you can create, you can toss in your ideas. Yes, 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 yes. So there's no bad behavior. All there is what we call a mismatch of behavior. So I show you two jars. I show you a jar that has marbles. I show you a jar that has pennies. Now, if I can, this is a conversation of content versus context. Now, I want you to write this down. Content versus context. Now, if you can look at these content, whether they are pennies, marbles, sand, water, coffee, whatever content, the content will always follow the shape of the container. How many of you know what I mean? So whatever content I use, whatever behavior, I must contextualize my behavior. And if I contextualize the behavior, I must consider the type of work that I'm doing. I must consider the type of job that I'm doing. Is my job talking to customers, or is my job reading a legal document? Is my job working with the frontliners, and then maybe it's, it's customers and it's a lot of fun, we keep it light? Or is my job dealing with a group of accountants? Is my job required a sales number? Or is my job required a result on feedback and reviews? Is the person I'm working with fast? Or is the person I'm working with, I don't like to use the word slow, stable? Is there anything wrong with working with someone fast and working with someone stable? Because fast, not necessarily good, stable, not necessarily good either. But what is important, and I'm showing you these behaviors, is to contextualize behavior. Are you guys seeing this? This is very, truly important, because when you can understand there's no such thing as bad behavior, fast is good, slow is bad. When you can contextualize behavior means when we can work effectively with others. I'm talking about the top part of your iceberg. We are talking about, and I want you to write this down nice and big on your notes. We are talking about flexibility. Too many leaders lack flexibility. Now, why do we lack flexibility? Flexibility is a precursor to resilience. How many of you know what I mean? Okay, it's really simple. If you take one hand, those days when we were kids, I don't know whether you've done that before. Have you ever broke a pencil with one hand? Have you done it? Have you done that? Okay. If you've ever done that before, okay, with one hand, yes, Atika, okay, we've done that. I want to just show we're very strong, right? If you've ever done that, compare. I want you to break a pencil with one hand, and then the second exercise, I want you to break a rubber band with one hand. How many of you think you're going to have a cramp of your lifetime? Have you ever tried doing that? Now, resilience. Resilience has a lot to do with flexibility, adaptability. And this is a lot of what is calling for many of us. How many of you know that so many of us are affected by the virtual world? Can you say, yeah, if you are? How many of you feel, my gosh, I can't get used to going virtual. I can't do this remote thing. How many of you feel like that? Say yes. Shahida, Charles, Achilles, Atika, Hilmi, Yvonne. Totally. Don't you think as trainers and as speakers, we had to get used to it as well? Right now, my neighbors are thinking I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs. Zoom fatigue. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Jacqueline. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Riza. So if I can, Jamie, beautiful. Thank you. This is epic because our jobs, our success, not our jobs, our success comes from being able to be resilient and to adapt to the different context. And I have to apply a different behavior to match the context that I am in. When you can understand that, you will have a lot of peace and harmony working with different people, different situations, with different contexts, different abilities. Does that make sense? This is truly important. Make sense? So I hope you guys have questions. Peel it in right now. I know that there are a lot of things going through your mind. And if you have questions, great. Please pop it in. I will get to it. Now I'm going to get to the last part. Oh my gosh, I'm going to speed up a bit. Okay. I'm going to get to and now we go to the bottom part. The top part is behavior. We talked about that, how to flex your behavior. Now, when we get to the bottom part, we're talking about what's below the iceberg, your belief systems, your values, your identity. This part is not easy to explain, but I'm going to simplify it, okay? And I'm going to simplify it in a context of being effective with people. So how do I be effective with people is that I must first be aware of myself. So when people behave in a certain way, how many of you question, why did he do that? Why did she do that? And I'll give you, how many of you answered the poll? Let me pull up the poll. The poll that I asked all of you, okay, let me just fish it out. The poll that I asked all of you is when you send somebody a WhatsApp message, okay? When you send somebody a WhatsApp message, it's an important message, not a hello, good morning. It's an important message. You got to get things done, right? And 3 days later, hey, this person didn't get back to me. And you go back to that message and you see a blue tick and this person didn't respond. Now, what goes through your mind? Anybody? Yeah, just give it a go. What goes through your mind at that time? Be honest. Normal law, normal LOL. That's okay. You see a blue tick. What goes through your mind? The person is busy. Thank you, Cecilia. The person is busy. Very good. Puvendran ignoring me. I feel ignored. Thank you. Many group in WhatsApp, so must be terlepas. Betul. Cry internally. Aduh, Joyce. It's not important. I'm not important. Aduh, miss out. All right. Might have read, but busy. Okay. The poll, 82% of you said, oh, he must have 82%, guys, write it down. He must have missed my text. I better follow up. Okay. 12% of you went, did I do something wrong? 5% of you went, this person is avoiding me. Now, this is very interesting because, forgot to click send. Maybe busy. Okay. Now, this is very crucial because this is where I'm getting below the waterline. Going below the waterline is how we read people's behaviors. And when we read people's behaviors with a certain lens, all right? So you notice nice and big on the slide, your lens is your filter. And this is very important because people perform their meanings. So if my meaning is he must be too busy for me, not important. You know, I guess they had better things to do. If we see people's behavior through a certain lens, the behavior can look positive or negative. How many of you know what I mean? This is very important because we wear our belief system as a filter. Very good. Thank you, Charles. We're dealing with many people from different countries, and so language, timing can be a barrier too. Very good. Now, if I can, we perform our meanings. I'll give you an example. If I believe exercise is healthy, okay? If I believe exercise is healthy, it's important for me to stay in shape. I get up in the morning every day at 5:30 to work out. I perform what is important to me. And similarly, if my belief system is already negative, I think I have a lousy job, or I think I have a bad boss, or I think I cannot trust someone, or I can't trust certain people, how you see the world manifests more of that behavior. How many of you know what I mean? Wow, Khalid Ismartono, thank you. This is very, very powerful because we behave what we believe. Does that make sense? And so when we are reading certain people, when we are reading certain behavior, what meanings are you putting to it? Is it true? Is it not true? I hope you guys are following me. This is really, really powerful stuff because this is it. This is it. That's also why many people can see a WhatsApp message blue tick. They take it as it is. Forgot. Okay, I'll ping the fella again. Oi, you forgot my message, ah? Itu saja. But some people go into it. And where does the resourcefulness depletes because there are so many meanings that we create from simple behavior. Does that make sense? Now, and if I can, this is also very, very important because, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to write this down. Not easy what I'm sharing. Thank you, Achilles. Some people overthink. They overanalyze and they over-evaluate. So much so it becomes a little bit judgy, right? There's a lot of over-evaluation, but something that we make a lot of peace around. That's why neurosemantics has done so much work in the study of human potential, is that all these things get in the way of our potential. How many of you know what I mean? Say, yeah. Yes, thank you. Belief system is your mindset. Yes, thank you, Achilles. So if I can also see, thank you so much, Putu. Wow, very nice. Yes, Janet, nice. Yeah, bring it on, gang. Thank you. Thank you. This is so powerful because I want you to read what is on the slide. Behavior is not the intention. When we see people's behavior, we will never know what they intend unless we ask. Like, hey, dude, you forgot to reply me. Hey, yeah, sorry. Ayo, I was so swamped. Yeah. See, behavior is not intention. Was it their intention to completely ignore you? So if I can, we develop beliefs and they're positive or negative around others. You see where we go from self to others? We develop those positive or negative beliefs. And there's this very important thing that I want to share with you. And this is it, okay? So I want you to write this down. I heard this some time ago and that blew me away, all right? So I want you to write this down verbatim. We judge ourselves based on our intentions, but we judge others based on their behavior. How many of you have heard that before? Cecilia, thank you. We are what we think. Barbara, end up in analysis paralysis most of the time. Yes, it's like a washing machine in there, and that's why we lose so much peace, so much harmony, is because we're too busy second guessing when actually, like that only lah. Is it similar to mental modeling, role modeling? Yes, almost similar. Thank you, Barbara. That's also going to another level. Mental modeling is modeling the way certain people think. And in the study of neurosemantics, there's a lot of that. In neurosemantics, they studied the way successful people think. And the not successful people, not that they are not making a lot of money, they were always second guessing. They're always caught up with what people say, what people do, and they judge, they evaluate. Versus behavior is not intention. If we understand that, we can be at peace. If I want to know someone's intention, what do? I ask. Does that make sense? Okay. So the last thing that I want to share with you is this. Last thing, all right? And I'm going to get into some question and answer because I'm running out of time. The last thing that I want to share is when things happen, and they can happen poorly, unresourcefully, negatively, and it got you into a bit of a pickle. And every time there's that situation, self-mastery, self-awareness, self-mastery, before you go to others, stop yourself and do this thing. In the last session, I talked about it, but it was in a Q&A. So today I'm showing it to you. What this means is when we get into situations, we can process. And when we process, we can create more constructive actions. How do you do this? So let's just say you got into a fight with somebody, you got into a heated battle and you showed someone off in the meeting and they told you off, it was going back and forth. Let's say, it's very important to process taking 4 perceptual positions. 4 perceptual positions meaning you must take the first position, self. What did you feel? What exactly did he say that annoyed you? Okay, and it's very important to be succinct. Important. Oh, what did he totally say? Be very succinct. Once you take the position of self, not enough, please go and take the position of other. When you take the position of other, that's where you step into their shoes and you get into what we call empathy. You step into the shoes and you step into his shoes looking at you. What do you observe when you step into his shoes looking at yourself? Okay, this is very important. And then, not finish, after you do that, experience it in somebody else's shoes, then pull yourself out and look at yourself and him, the other person. This is called being the third person. When you pull yourself out, you can see yourself and your boss, for example. You both go having that heated discussion. You as a third person can experience the conversation. You're replaying it, but you're pulling yourself out. Then you go into a systemic, not finish. The fourth one, a lot of people don't do. Okay, guys, I hope you're following me. The fourth position is systemic. When you go into systemic, this takes some skill. You push yourself even further back and you look at the system. Look at you and your boss, the sequence of natural events that led to a heated discussion. And when you look at systemic, remove your names, remove his name, remove his face, remove your face. When you can look at it as systemic view, it is a natural sequence of events. And when you see it as natural, these things happen. It's a misunderstanding. It happens. You remove the personalizing. How many of you know what that means? Say yeah. You remove. So when you move from the red to the yellow to the blue to the green, you remove the taking things personally. Does that make sense? This is also how we process emotions, especially when you're very heated. Take yourself through this. You can actually write it down. What I get my clients to do is I write it down. Self, other, third person. By the time you write this 4 down, you have been able to process and you can take the best course of action because you've seen it from every single point of view. The challenge with us is if we don't do that and then we react, that's where we can be one-sided with our actions. Yeah, not easy, Colin. Oh my gosh. And it's not easy for what I'm sharing with you today. But how many of you are following? Say yeah. How many of you are finding this interesting? Say yeah. This is epic self-management. Epic managing yourself mentally. Yeah, thank you, Putu, Janet, Phoebe, Merta, Yvonne, Kanchana, Riza. Epic. And this kind of stuff, people will take days to teach. But I've given you what you need. And of course, you want to go deeper, you can talk to me or you log on to the Naluri app. And I'm happy to keep the discussion going with you. Yes, thank you, Charles. Now, summary and takeaways before we get into Q&A. Kalau ada masa, the takeaways. Having greater awareness in working with others requires you to be aware of self. Otherwise, it becomes manipulation. Okay? When you lack flexibility of tools and options, everything will end up looking like a nail. Bang, 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 bang. Does that make sense? So make sure you don't have to have a hammer. You have a hammer, you have a drill. So flexibility of tools require you to learn. So you need to learn the tools. That's why we have NLP, the different languages, how to motivate people, how to talk to people who are big picture, all those conversations. Yeah. So this is all part of language and programming. Number three, very important. Behavior is not the intention. Okay. If you want to know somebody's intention, you have to ask. And remember, last but not least, we perform our meanings. So meanings is very crucial. We perform our beliefs. We perform what is what is high in our value system. So be cautious what meanings you create, and that is your inner voice. Does that make sense? Manage that, and you will be a far peaceful person when you work with others. Thank you very much.
Wow, Marissa, thank you once again for
Yeah, I hope
I was talking while I was on mute. Don't we all just do that, even though how many sessions we have been through? Thank you, Marissa. That was such an insightful session. Um, Especially taking the systemic view. I'm sure a lot of you all stars can relate to that. I've put down your feedback. I've put down a feedback form for all of you. We are moving into Q&A right now. So please do fill up the feedback form. I know a lot of you like Marissa. This is the second time she's here. And there's another exciting project that we are working with Marissa. So it's going to come your way very, very soon. We can't wait to roll that out. But let's move on into question and answer. I did see some people raise up their hands. Right earlier, so please do, if you want, you can put down the questions, but if you want, you may unmute yourself and ask Marissa directly as well. I did see a few hands raised. Barbara, you raised your hand. I don't know whether that's accidentally. Do you want to ask Marissa a question, Barbara? Okay.
Did
No.
I?
Hi.
Accidentally. Anyway, I'm thinking about some questions to Marisa, but later probably.
Okay, sure. There's a question here, Marissa. What
yes.
the difference with the third party and systemic view? Can you give us an example?
Can. Fantastic. Thank you, Cecilia. So let me give you a real example. Okay. So this business owner that I've been coaching for a while, long story short, got very upset because employee that was resigning, said a lot of mean things to him lah. Was getting all like, and then he got so disturbed, called me in the middle of the night, about 8, 9 o'clock, and then was letting it all go. So I said, hey, let's do the 4 positions, okay? So his name is Eng. So I say, Eng, okay. Let's take the self view. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling lousy. After all I did for this fella, he did this to me, he did that to me. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the other. Sit in the shoes of your employee. Maybe he's scared, he's not sure what he's going to do next, and he's not performing. So, he was scared. Okay. Let's take the third person. So Eng pulled himself out and looked at him and that resigned employee and saw a very fearful conversation, a very lopsided. And when he stood back and he could see himself and the resigned employee, Eng, the client, could see, oh, actually it was a defense mechanism. It looked like a defense mechanism. That's why I say all this nonsense. Okay, he could see that when he pulled back. Okay, this is third view, Cecilia. The fourth view is, can you pull yourself back even more to a systemic view? Pull yourself back. That means that you can literally pull yourself out to a satellite, look at planet Earth. Okay, so you remove the names, remove your name, your face, his name, his face, remove all that. What do you see? I see a unhappy employee sound off the boss. That's all it is. Sounding off the boss because he had to resign because of poor performance, and out of defense, that conversation was just a disgruntled employee being let go and a boss that just has to listen to it. Is a natural sequence of events. How many people are happy when these things happen? Rarely, right? So if I can, the systemic view looks at it as a natural sequence of events, no face, no name, no feelings, and you're going, well, That's all it is. So he removed the person to it. That is the systemic view. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Cecilia, are you clear? Yeah, very good. Practice it. Yeah.
Marissa, I know we are almost out of time. Oh, great. Michelle has a question. Would you say a person with high EQ has high behavioral intelligence?
Very good, Michelle. High EQ is about high awareness. Okay, high awareness. So when I have high awareness, I know how I'm thinking, feeling. The high BI is about the ability to be flexible. So the high BI is the action. So I can be aware, there are some people like that, oh, I'm feeling like this, oh, I'm thinking like this, but then the behavior still similar. So the high BI is an extension of being aware of oneself and how we show up. Good one, Michelle. Very
Wonderful. There's a follow-up question that was previously submitted to us before
Yes.
Our session.
Uh,
How do we apply IQ, EQ, and behavioral intelligence effectively together?
yes, fantastic. IQ, EQ, and BI. So we've talked about EQ and BI. EQ is awareness. BI is the flexibility of behavior. IQ is intelligent quotient. Okay, so this is truly important because this differentiates. How many of you know that you have very good teachers? The very good teachers can simplify complex material until it's very easy to understand. Okay, sometimes people with high IQ, they have the intelligence, but they don't know how to deliver it. So if you have high IQ, EQ, and BI, you not only have the intelligence, you also can tap into how people need to understand something. That brings you to a place where you have complete mastery. Does that make sense? IQ, EQ, and BI. So sometimes you see very smart people, doctors and PhDs, they're very, very smart, no doubt. But sometimes it is very complex what they need to communicate, and not everyone can understand. So if they peel into that, they tap into how people need to understand, then they are a better teacher. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
This is a very, very good question.
Another follow-up question. I see a lot of people like this EQ, IQ, BI, right? Is there a way to measure our emotional quotient?
Yes, you can. You can measure your EQ. Well, if I can, that's a little bit of a sneak peek, Achilles, on the program that we're working with on. So Diana, I can hear you.
Diana,
So
please join in our program when we roll it out.
yes, we're rolling that out, and each of you are going to have a test, an EQ test, and when you have it, you come into the session, we will go through all of it. All right. So when you saw the quadrant, the 4 quadrants I showed right at the start, you're going to get an evaluation of yourself on the 4 quadrants. Okay. Yeah. You excited?
So this is another interesting one. How to be likable by everyone?
Oh, that one is a magic question. Okay. So the thing about likability, Achilles, this is really powerful because likability is about attraction. Now, not law of attraction, but how many of you know we get attracted to people that are like us? How many of you know what I mean? So we get attracted to people that have the same hobbies as us. Suddenly I can talk football, wow. Especially I like cycling, right? If I find out any of you like cycling and you write to me and you say, I cycle too, oh my gosh, straight away, correct? So the likability factor has a lot to do with being similar. Now, that is called generating rapport. Now, when you can generate rapport, the rapport can happen at 3 levels. Okay, I want you to write this down. Okay, 3 levels. The rapport can happen at number 1, a physiological level. Physiological meaning the way I use my hands, my body, how I move, right? So if Achilles is smiling, I also smile. And we get so attracted to each other because it's a physiological sameness. The second one is verbal. Verbal means we use the same words. You know, if I say, hey, I see what you mean, I see it too, versus I see what you mean, yeah, I hear you. See and hear. So using the same words. If someone uses the word awesome, you use the same word awesome, they go, oh my gosh, she uses the same language. Verbal. The third one is a little bit more powerful. That rapport is called a conceptual rapport. Physiological, verbal, conceptual. When you go into conceptual, it has a lot to do with the similar beliefs, similar values. So this is where a bit mendalam, where when you get to know people and you say, oh my gosh, she thinks like me. Hey, we have the same values. Oh my gosh, nice. Conceptual can also, at the shallowest version, be having the same hobbies. If you like plants, you have a certain value on going green, right? Yeah. So if I can, 3 ways to build rapport, that will allow you to be very attractive. Now, because we have many different people, do you have to be many different types of attractive?
Yes.
Yes. That is the key of influence. That's influence in the basic level, and I can go into again days on influence. That's influence. Okay?
Great. Um, and also, I know I popped down the feedback form down there, so please do take your time to fill up. It's very short. I have more questions to ask Marissa from our earlier feedback. How to make sure that your subordinates, so I guess this is a manager asking this question,
Sure.
understand your message. I've spoken directly in meetings, texted my team members 3 times about my requirements, but the person still makes same mistakes. To be honest, I am overwhelmed.
Oh, okay, okay. Now this is a very, very good question. So Achilles, my first take is this, okay? Sounds like this person has made a mistake. Yeah, and it sounds also like this is a recurring mistake, right? So when a mistake is recurring, okay, I differentiate it into two. And I want you to write this down. When a mistake is recurring, is the person aware of the mistake? And if the person is aware, does he or she have the skill to adjust that mistake, adjust their action to avoid the mistake? So I come down to two pillars, and that's why I use my hands here, guys, because in managing our employees, there is always a need to evaluate the can and the will. The can or they can't, the will or they won't. So the can and the will, can't and the won't, is about competency and willingness. So if we leaders, managers, when we have done our part to show them, to tell them, to give them feedback, and give them the skill and the resources to be able to adjust, okay, and then they still won't. I go back to the adage, the Chinese adage, guys. There's a Chinese saying, you can pull the horse to the water, pull and pull and pull and pull. The horse, don't open the mouth and drink, will also die of thirst. That's right. So, as a manager, we need to do our best. That is making sure that they have the resources, the feedback, the clarity, and if they still won't, that's the will.
And I like what Charles just commented. And you know, it resonates to what you just said. Could be that there was just no skilling done before the job was given. Most bosses just instruct, not knowing if that is the staff forte or not.
Oh yes, Charles, that's a very good one. The conversation that I have with managers is always this, because managers tend to instruct. You see, when I instruct, and Charles, thank you, is one way. That means there's no checking mechanism, whether this person can do. So I encourage leaders to take a coaching approach where it's not instruct, it's briefing, but they have to hear from the other side, what do you understand about what is required from you? Do you understand? So then the leader, after briefing the project, has a chance to hear this person faham or not at that time. So this is a coaching skill. We always, so you're hearing how they are dissecting that project before they go away and do something completely off. Yeah. So this is
Absolutely.
very good. Thank you, Charles.
And let's see how to put aside our personal feeling towards annoying co-worker to achieve team goals.
Okay. So this is very important because go back to earlier.
Yeah,
What was annoying? What lens is that?
that's self.
That's
Oh no,
right. The self that is below the iceberg, right? So when someone is annoying, what exactly is annoying? Okay, so that's where go into self, go into awareness, and then mastery. Okay, let's go into mastery. So you know, oh my gosh, this annoys the daylights out of me. Oh my God, I can't stand it when he, she does this. Okay. Mastery is, and my encouragement is for people to practice meta pleasuring. I want you to write this down. This is again mastery of human potential. Because when we find something is annoying about someone, they are not annoying. It's what they do that's annoying. So we need to pinpoint what exactly is that and say that's annoying. Everything else about the person is not too bad. Differentiate that. And meta pleasuring is focusing on the everything else. Don't focus. So what people do as a mistake is when someone does something annoying, they become annoying. That is like what? Because what people do is not who they are. I do lazy things. I'm not lazy. And that's why as leaders we must watch our language. Hey, don't be so lazy lah. That is calling the person lazy. And how do you think the person's identity will shift into that? Example, example, I'm being very extreme so I can show you that our words are very powerful if we don't take responsibility.
This goes back to earlier what we spoke about. We judge ourselves based on our intention, and then we judge others based on their behavior.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a final question here.
Okay.
Based on the above, what would be the recommended and best practice of how long an online meeting should be held, especially during this mobilization, restriction, connection, internet issues? I think this falls under our previous talk, right?
This falls under the virtual culture.
Correct.
How do I approach this from a behavior intelligence?
Yeah.
So if I can, if you look at online meetings, it's challenging for many people. It's challenging. So if I can, behavior intelligence is understanding that we need to be flexible. Yeah. So we talked about their resilience and we don't really have a choice. I can't really drive up to you and have a cup of coffee, which I usually like, you know, and then sometimes your video is off. Sometimes it's intermittent. I cannot hear you. I ask you to repeat and then you get annoyed at me. You see all that? So if I can, that requires an epic amount of flexibility. It's not easy. And why the virtual culture is failing in some parts of the world is people themselves don't know what they need. They don't know they need a better better place to work for 4 hours non-stop. They don't know how to control, you know, the sequence, their environment, and having the kids respect their time. You know, they don't know how to carve out their lunch hour and then they work until 4:30 and then realize I'm hungry and then got gastric and then depression comes along. So The reason why the virtual culture is failing is because when we go to the office, the environment is cut for us. Lunchtime like this, start work what time? Table sit there, meeting room over there. Isn't it? It's already designed for
Template.
us.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah, yes. So when I go to work, like this, like this, like this, like this. But when I now virtual, I got to figure out my life. That's why. So the self part, the self, a lot of people don't know what they need. And that's where we must ask those questions. What do you need? And then design your world to that. And then communicate it. If you are taking lunch at 1 o'clock, take lunch at 1 and then enable your team to not bug you at that time. Respect that. It has to be two ways. And that's a lot to do with the compassion, the program that we're talking about later, Achilles, that we need to be compassionate. And it's a give and take.
Great. And we'll take one last question, which is if someone clearly is low on EQ, do you stoop low, hold your fort, or meet in the middle?
Okay. So if somebody truly lacks EQ, that means the awareness. There are some people that I talk to that just needs it to be direct, blunt. You got to lay it down. All right. And sometimes you have to be confrontational, and it's very difficult if you're not comfortable with that. Okay. But from the question, you can already see stoop low or hold your ground. From this question, you can already see where do you take the ground. Remember the four positions?
Mm-hmm.
In the question already implies stooping low. No need. So when you process the 4 positions, what is the most resourceful course of action that can benefit everybody? And that's also how we apply logic instead of uncontrolled emotion. Does that make sense? So that's EQ. EQ doesn't mean zero emotions. That's wrong. People with zero emotions only find that when something happens, they explode. Bam! That's also low EQ, right? Yeah. Does that make sense? Very good question.
That makes total sense. Once again, All Stars, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are on Workplace, thank you as well for joining us. And once again, if you guys want to watch it again, it's on Workplace. So just go on Happenings at AirAsia. This is on Workplace. So go and tune again. I wrote down, I have 4 pages of notes over here as well. Amazing. And All Stars, once again, we are having a special program. We are creating a special program. I'll give you all a little hint. It's called, oh God, suddenly I forgot.
Connecting through
Connecting
compassion.
with compassion. There we go.
Yeah.
There's so many programs right in my mind. So connecting with compassion, and this is a very, very interesting program. So we have we have about 100 seats. It's going to be a 2-hour program, and then follow up with a lot of things on the Naluri app as well. So next week onwards, you'll receive some information. We'll be posting it out. So we have 100 seats. We'll do 25 cohorts at a time. So I'm working with Marissa to get that started. And that's something very, very interesting. And how do you connect with compassion? A lot of you ask oh, it's difficult, leading a team, managing people. People are also different, all those questions, right? So please do look out for that. I'll be posting it very soon. And I know Diana wants to take a photograph of all of us, whoever who's still here. So yeah, there we go. So it would be really nice to see your faces, and you can turn on your camera for just a short while so we can take a photo just to remind ourselves what a wonderful session this is. And we're so fortunate to have Marissa here. Once again, on behalf of all the All-Stars here, if you want to unmute, you want to say thank you to Marissa, go ahead.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you,
Marissa.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Please fill up the feedback form. I always enjoy to have you around, Marissa. And I can't wait to build that program. And as we start with the 4 cohorts in the beginning, please do sign up, all of you. It's going to be just 2 hours, but really precious 2 hours of your time to really learn how to connect with your team with compassion, right? Not only just like work, 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 but how do you bring it even more deeper to understand your team members? So that is something very, very interesting. Please do sign up. It's open to everyone across. We'll be sending out. It's a pilot project that we're working on, and then we'll roll out to the whole organization. Once again, thank you so much for being part of this. Really, really happy to see all of you here, and hopefully this session is beneficial to all of you. Thank you, and see you all again. You feel free to log out, feel free to sign out. We'll still be here because we'll have a short debrief with Marissa.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everybody. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye. Stay safe.
You too, everyone. Please stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Ito Rick, staging area.
Thank you. Okay. I will exit some people. Thank you, everyone. The session has ended, so now it's just okay. Let me just exit some people. Remove. Remove. There we go. We'll stop recording as well. Ren, you want to stop recording?